Hey y'all, welcome back. Glad to have you guys joining back in with us. We're going to be planting peanuts today. So let's see what Kelly has up his sleeve and ideas on this.
Alright, we're going to do peanuts today, as she said. We've already got our peanuts shucked out. I'm going to stand in the shade for a minute. It's hot out today. But we're going to do our peanuts. We've got them in. We're going to leave them in our shells. Just take them out of the brown shell. So we got like 55 in here. Now go through them. I left these in here, so I'll see if you look. These are bad. See how the rest of them are nice and pretty, and this is what you'd want to eat. You ate that, it would taste bad. So we don't want to even plant those. But I left them in there so you can see what I was talking about, what are bad. So we'll just discard those. Now, that one's on and we'll go ahead and put that one in. Now, what we're going to do is these need a lot of space, and I'll explain that here in a minute. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to space them out about every 6 inches. And you're going to have to weed them out later. And so we're going to use the bed over here that we've been saving for it, but we waited till the temperatures got warm because peanuts like heat. They are from the tropics. They're from the rainforest, so they need water and heat, high humidity. Here in Oklahoma, we got quite a bit of humidity, not like Georgia, Alabama down there where they do most of the peanut growing, but we have a lot here, so they should do fine. Now, the main thing on these is you've got to make sure they get plenty of moisture on a regular basis. You don't have to flood them. I'm not saying keep them any more wet than you would the beans next to them or the broccoli or anything else, but just make sure they have a routine of water, because what happens is if you let them get dry for maybe 3 or 4 days, they're going to stop growing to protect themselves. So now you just stop the cycle. So make sure you just keep nice easy watering schedule, whether it be irrigation or coming out with your hose, but make sure you just keep it on a routine so they keep growing, because they need fairly decent growing season. It's kind of hard to say. It all depends on your heat, your temperatures and stuff like that, your nights, how cold, because they won't grow under 55 degrees. They're not growing. So if your temperature is getting low like that, you're putting it on pause every time. So unless you're in a high heat area, high tropic area, high humidity area where you got to designate it pretty much, you can say when they're going to grow, when they're going to be done, then you could. But in here, we might get down in the 50s, 55 degrees. You just never know. So it could put it on pause on us. So you want to start later in the season, because we just started whenever we did everything else. We had temperatures down in the 40s. We had temperatures in the low 50s a lot of those nights. So they would have been on pause. So it kind of been silly to start them. So we kind of waited a little later than everything else so that we'll get our best chance of a good crop. So we've got our bed prepared. These are similar to your potatoes. You need a loose soil. So I'm gonna come out in the sun finally. So we want this loose. This is gonna have to be nice and loose down in here, because you, like potatoes, you're growing under the soil. You need, not only for your regular plants where you need them roots to be able to go out, but now we're gonna be growing underground. And this is going to be the coolest thing you ever did. And I'll explain why. If you don't know anything about peanuts, you can watch some videos to get ahead of me. But I'm going to tell you about it, and then you can watch later. Now, we're going to start by planting them 6 inches apart. But we need them to be about 1.5 feet apart when they're mature. Because here's what the cool part is. These will grow up like a bean. Let's use those for example here real quick, because I don't have any growing over here. This bean here gets flowers, just like the peanuts will, okay? This flower though, when it gets to a point, it will get heavy and it will slowly start sagging, and when that comes down, it's kind of like a weeping willow tree, and it's going to touch the ground. When that flower touches the ground, it will send out a shoot into the ground and grow the peanut underground. In other words, you don't have peanuts growing up here on top of the plant. The peanuts are going to grow underneath, but your flowers are up on top, just like these beans are. But as it gets weight and heavy, it's going to come down and send shoots down that will touch the ground, and then our peanuts will actually grow underground. Now, that is the only plant that does that. So it is just one of them cool things. It's going to flower above, and then that flower is going to drop, touch, and then make a peanut. Or like your potatoes, everything is from start to finish is underground. Your beans, everything's on top of the ground, start to finish. These start on the top, and they finish underneath. And then we'll get to know, well, I can go ahead and go do that. So now we've already got our plants. Like I said, they will drop. And they're going to come down, touch the ground. They're going to make our peanuts. Now, Yes, well, they're underground. How do you know? Well, very similar to the potatoes. When those potatoes, like I told you, get up to a certain point, they're going to start dying and turning yellow. Same thing with the peanuts. You've got a nice green plant here, you've got the flowers, they drop down, and all of a sudden now there's all your flowers are starting to make peanuts. So it's going to take all of its energy that it has and it's going to put them into that peanut. So it's basically going to rob everything of the plant to make the peanuts. And they're becoming their own entity down below. So they will suck that plant dry to make themselves. So when this starts turning yellow, or I should say the peanuts, when this starts turning yellow and starts dying, you know these are starting to ripe because they're sucking that plant dry to make themselves, to grow, to thrive. Because now this used the ground and water to make this. The peanuts are going to use the plant then in turn to suck that down and make the peanuts. So when you know your peanuts are done, pretty much like a potato. When you think your plants are dead or dying, that's when your potatoes or your peanuts are done. So I'm going to start here. What I'm going to do is we're going to start every 6 inches, and I've got enough peanuts. I'm going to do about 2 per hole, and then once we know what comes up, we will, like here I had to thin out, but nature over here with my green beans kind of thinned it out for me, so we didn't have to do much thinning there at the end. So but on that end we did. Same thing here. I'm going to plant every 6 inches, but if all 3 of those plants would come up, I'm going to take that middle one out, because if they come up and then, like I said, they need to drop to touch the ground. But if you got a fellow right next to it, they're going to hold each other up. They're going to support each other. Well, that's good in a social situation, but not with your peanuts. So no support here. So we want them to drop. So we're going to get them going, and we'll see how many come up. Then when we come back, we'll thin them out, and then I'll show you later on when we get to that point. But right now, I'm going to worry about getting about every 6 inches apart. I'm just going to do 3 rows, basically, because that would give me enough room for 3 rows to have about a foot, foot and a half. So I'm just going to start down here, a row over there, a row down the middle, and a row here. And then we're going to put our watering systems up. And we're going to put these over here. And I'm just going to basically put this here in a minute. And then this is going to cover, well, actually these over here, but they'll cover this whole area here. So that way everything gets watered. And then once we get our individual plants, then we can go back and do individual watering, so we're not using as much water. But right now we want to get it all, but I'm not doing, 55 different little openings right now. So we'll water it all, and then we'll settle back to how many we have so we can cut our water back a little bit. So let's go ahead and start getting these done. I'm just going to guesstimate and just go down through here. We got it already spread out, so actually give me a minute. I'll be right back and we'll start this. Alright, so we got it nice and smoothed out. It's out of the way. So we need to be about 1 to 2 inches in the ground. So we're not going to need anything fancy. They're big, so they're easy to push in there. So I'm just going to start here. I'm going to work my way back and forth, and we'll get them in. Like I say, I'm going to put 2. So I just kind of look, trying to grab a big one, a small one. You got different sizes, just like when you open them up when you're going to eat them. And we'll just take a couple of them at a time. We're just going to start here about 6 inches away, 8 inches away, so it gives it room to come down. So we start in the middle. Let's just start here, and we'll go from there. Like everything else, when we get done here, we're going to water these in real good. All right, so we're there, go to here. All right. What in the world? Every once in a while, where'd he go? Well, I don't even know where he went. That was a new bug. I ain't seen that before. The black, about 1 inch long and black. Pretty. All right, I just did one down here because we have our watering. So now, what we're gonna do is I will water this in, but I'm gonna move my irrigation now up in here. Already on the edge. Alright, now what we're going to do, we're going to put one. These are 180s. So I'm going to put one on this end and make sure we're facing. This does a 180, so it's going to do all this area right here. And I move this one. And we're going to look and see where our fittings at. And we're going to go the same thing. And it's going to water here. Now I'm going to have to add one right here in the center, and I'll get that here in a minute. All right, we turned on our irrigation. Everything's hitting like it's supposed to. We added a center one that spins, so that'll get the middle. So we got, this bed is covered now. So we tested that. We know our soil's good. Now I'm gonna go back later when we're done here and we'll water it in with the hose so everything gets a good soaking, but we don't need to do that right now. One other thing I want to touch on real quick is your soil. Make sure your pH, your soil, acidity, and you want it no more than 7, but you want it around 5.5 is perfect. So if your soil, like most people's, ours averages 5.5 to 6, 6.5. That's just where it averages naturally for us here. So you might want to check yours if you're having problems. But when you see your plants are doing good, you can kind of tell. Like another video we showed on our carrots, we're too much nitrogen because of the soil amendments. We used mushroom compost, so I should have been a little more careful. But see, certain plants thrived in that. Our peas thrived in it. Our tomatoes, everything else is doing good. So it affects certain plants more than others. So really the only thing you have to worry about with your peanuts is make sure you're not higher than 7. No, but you want to be 5.5, 6, 6.5, somewhere there's perfect. That's really all I have. They are so simple, as you've seen. Now it's just set back, let nature do its thing. Hope your days stay above 55, which this time of year, we're coming into July, the end of June here. So it'll be warm, so we should be fine. But we'll check back with you after they get up and start looking like little weeping willows, and we'll check back in with you. So I'll see you later.
Okay, you guys have an awesome day. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. When you subscribe, you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. You guys have an awesome day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.